Morning all, how's it going? Those of us that hail from the northeast of England are well known for having a lengthy rivalry with our Scottish neighbours, the Jocks versus the Geordies. I always got on with the Scottish blokes in the corps. All of them were good fucking lads that I used to work with. But again, they've been forged in the crucible by the military training, and those lads are cut from different cloth from the average fucking Scotsman. Because a significant minority of them seem to display such a pathological dislike for their English neighbours that they're willing to support anyone who will promise them that they can finally be rid of the fucking effete shandy drinkers that run the fucking UK, obviously from south of the border. I remember it was my second tour of Iraq, and we were at a Shaiba logistics base before I ended up in Baghdad. And when you're down there, you meet guys from outside your own unit, you know. And there was a bloke manning the gate, the entrance to the camp, who joined up with me in 1999. I remember him. I think he dropped out in about week 5. He was weak as piss, skinny dying rat, and he couldn't handle it. He lasted 4 or 5 weeks and he fucking quit. But sure enough, he then left and fucking waltzed into whatever his local regiment was in Scotland. And I said, "Hello mate, how you doing?" And we had a brief chat when as soon as I recognised him, we locked eyes, you know. And then, funnily enough, I was in the galley getting a cup of tea. And I think I'd been told to go and see the QM to get like anti-malarials, I believe it was. And I walked up to a geezer who had his back to me, so I couldn't see he didn't have commando flashes on. Tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, mate." I was about to ask him, like, "Have you seen the QM?" And he turned round and he had the Scottish Regiment's patch on his arm. I said, "Oh, sorry, mate." I said, "I thought you were a bootneck." And he went, "Ha, don't insult me." Which made me laugh. And then I said to him, "Fucking insult you?" I said, I'll tell you what, mate. Go and ask that fucking skinny cunt Anderson, was his name, his surname. I said, "Go and ask Anderson on the gate. See if he thinks I'm insulting you." And he went, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "He tried to fucking join the corps, mate. He joined up with me." I said, "And he left because he was weak as fucking piss." I said, "He seems to have fucking strolled into your regiment though, hasn't he? Anyway, I'll see you later, you daft cunt." Just one story about a pathological Scotsman. So, a large number of them just have fucking chips on both shoulders. And sadly, as a result of that, the fucking lunatics up north, which is the SNP, appear to be riding those anti-English coattails to just decades of power. Like, I can't see them ever losing. Because you've got a split vote between the Lib Dems, Labour and the Tories who they don't like because of a poor historical understanding about Margaret Thatcher. Because again, it's the same in the northeast of England. Everybody fucking hates Thatcher. They hate her. Where I'm from, everyone votes Labour because they hate Thatcher. But if you really get into it, I've read 2 books about Thatcher. The best of them being this one by Claire Belinsky. It's quite an old book now. Don't know when I think I read it back in 2010 or something when I was living in York. But anyway, it's a fucking great book. Really well researched. Extremely thorough, and I don't know about Claire Belinsky's politics, but she seems quite balanced in her opinions. The short version with Thatcher is it's much, much more complicated than simply she closed all the fucking pits, therefore we despise her, which basically is half of Scotland and fucking most of northeast England. We had no money. We were embarrassingly fucking poor. Our GDP, our standard of living and our disposable income was less than they had in Italy. Like, Britain went from being totally skint, unburied dead. The garbage wasn't getting taken out. Everyone was on strike. There was power cuts. It was just fucking absolutely shocking. We were getting to the point where it was an embarrassment of a country. And she took us from, in an 11-year period, the UK went from sick man of Europe to second or third most powerful economy in the Eurozone. We had no money. We were losing billions on coal. And the alternative was a full-blown fucking Marxist, Arthur Scargill, who was basically saying it doesn't matter how much money we lose. It doesn't matter if we lose £10 billion a year on coal. We have to keep all the mines open. And she said they'd be better off sat on their arse. Just give them the dole. If we're using it as a welfare programme, just give them the dole. Get them to sit on their arse and we'll just give them money. And she was right about that. Like, the people who look back wistfully on the coal mines have never been down a coal mine. The coal mining was the fucking worst job ever. It was descending into hell every day. So she did them a favour and they despised them for it. I'm not saying everything she did was right, But she made hard decisions that needed to be taken because we had no fucking money. And again, I don't know why anyone, left or right of centre, can't just sit there and say, you know what, maybe it was understandable. We had no money. We needed to make changes. The railways were losing billions. The coal mines were losing billions. That's why she nationalised things. It's not because she loved nationalising things. She did it out of necessity. So I've got a balanced approach to Thatcher. Everyone in my hometown fucking hates her. I've done the reading, and I'm pretty squarely in Thatcher's camp. I don't think she did everything right, but you can definitely see why she did it. Nothing she did for fun. We weren't ticking along nicely with fucking... She wasn't swimming about in Scrooge McDuck's vault, and then she thought, fuck it, you know what, I'll just decimate all the mining communities because fuck them. You know, it's infantile to suggest that's the case. Anyway, it's a good book. Fucking read it. So they're riding. It's a nice mishmash of anti-English sentiment, misguided in my opinion, and a strong dislike for Thatcherism and the Tories in general that's allowed Comrade fucking Sturgeon to rise to power. And she's a fucking maniac. So this headline made me laugh today. Nicola Sturgeon defends appropriate decision not to tell Scots about COVID-19 outbreak. Well, of course they didn't tell them. Again, why are people surprised? Are communists usually honest? Was Chairman Mao a bastion of integrity? Was he? Nicola Sturgeon insisted she was satisfied with the Scottish Government's decision. I bet she fucking was. On when it went to lockdown, after a shock report revealed how many lives could have been saved it had been implemented earlier, the First Minister faced questions at a daily media briefing today on why Scots had not been told about a coronavirus outbreak in Edinburgh in February. That's Edinburgh, Americans, not Edinburgh. I think I've told the Middleburg story. Oh yeah, and Worcestershire. Worcester, lads, Worcester. It's a conference held by Nike at a city centre hotel, February 26th. Saw delegates from around the world in attendance, at least 25 of whom are confirmed to have been affected. Fucking hell. Well, there you go then. Ministers and health officials were aware of the outbreak on March 2nd, but did not reveal the information publicly because commies lie. Sturgeon said all appropriate steps were taken. Again, just word soups, don't they? They use sentences like all appropriate steps, but they purposely hidden information from the general public. That's not appropriate. On the night event, I was satisfied then and was satisfied now that all appropriate steps were taken. Fuck off, Nicola. Asked if there had been a cover-up by deciding not to publish details of the conference outbreak, she said, on the accusation of a cover-up, that is complete and utter nonsense. Right. If the government, as an investigation, finds something out and then decides not to publish the details of that thing, by definition, you are covering it up. Surely. You have the information, it's clearly of interest to the general public, and you don't release the information for them. That's a cover-up. Just like this is a cover-up. The public wants to know these things. Yeah, there's a large gang of splendid English gentlemen. Anyway, yeah, cover-up. Nicola, that's what it is, by definition. So what do you expect? Lefty twats lie. Righty twats do as well, of course. But I'll put fucking the amount of deaths under the like of Mao, Pol Pot and Stalin against any fucking right-wing mad cunt. Seriously, I mean, Hitler fucking pales into insignificance when lined up alongside those sterling fucking lunatics. So reading this made me laugh, but it also got me thinking about making a video on the wider implications of what's going on in Scotland. Because of all the governments that run in the UK, of all the parties, the SNP is the most hardcore lefty party, by far. Do you remember this, when Owen Patterson called them fucking Marxists? And they all went mental in the Independent, obviously, because it's the Independent. It's like a more trendy version of the Guardian. Tory MP branded the SNP Marxists in an interview with Sky News. Yeah, he's fucking right. Radical independence. Yeah, radical. They are radicals. By definition, the SNP are Marxists. They're a far left nationalist group. Left-wing nationalism, social equality, popular sovereignty and national self-determination. What the fuck do the SNP do? Seriously, like every cunt argues with me, they're not Marxists. They are. Just look at the Wikipedia entry. Look at the dictionary definition. It's a form of nationalism. Check. based upon social equality. All they fucking talk about is equality, popular sovereignty, and national self-determination. Marxists. Nicola, Marxist pixie, poison dwarf, fucking sturgeon, is a Marxist. It also leads to things like this. First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has been appointed the inaugural he-for-she global advocate by UN Women, with the Scottish Government becoming signatories to the UN Women's Global Solidarity Movement for Gender Equality, which engages men and boys as advocates for equality. You've got equality about fucking 9 times in one sentence. They love it. All they talk about, equality, equity, communism. These fuckers are commies. What else? This from week before last. Stirring up hate crime legislation put forward in Scotland. It's fucking mental. If you actually read the hate crime bill, it's fucking crazy. It obviously covers the things that they love talking about, like race, religion, and sexual orientation. But they also want a standalone offence of misogynistic harassment. What the fuck? So if you call a woman a bitch, shut up, bitch. What are they going to do? Jail you? Again, state-enforced politeness. Are they fucking mental? Transgender identity, sexual orientation, fuck me. If everything is a hate crime, nothing is a hate crime. And it even goes further. They said that stirring up of hatred can contribute to a social atmosphere in which discrimination is accepted as normal. Our legislation, if passed, would offer greater protection for those who experience this kind of behaviour, being rude. So in communist hellscape, being rude will get you arrested. Fuck me. What more evidence do you want? There was the famous case of Count Dankula, who trained his fucking dog to put its paw in the air like Hitler for a joke, and he got fucking arrested and charged. Does he look like a fucking neo-Nazi? He's a fucking daft hippie with a fucking load of shit tattoos, one of which is a hammer and sickle. It's fucking ridiculous on the face of it. I could go all day. Literally, the amount of shit you can find about the SNP in Scotland being the UK government. I mean, our Conservative government's not Conservative anymore. They keep calling them fascists because they just keep moving the fucking goalposts. But, you know, at their best, they are a centrist government. They're not right-wing. Centrist. Because these are communists. And when you're a communist, everyone's fucking right of you. Everyone's right-wing. Tony Blair's far right if you compare him to a fucking communist. So you've got ridiculous, overbearing, state-enforced politeness. Purposely hiding all the information and misleading your fucking public. You've got fucking arrests for comedians for telling jokes. What more evidence do you fucking need? Arrest my fucking case. North of the Wall has turned into a fucking far-left, authoritarian, communist fucking hellscape with an insane poison dwarf at the helm. And even if you hate Thatcher for some misguided fucking reason, do you really prefer that? Comedians getting sent to prison. State-enforced politeness. You're not allowed to be rude to a woman, or you get sent down. I mean, are you fucking people mental? Anyway, the jocks v the Geordies. We're more than happy to fucking I'm more than happy to see Scotland get independent. But if that happens, I want the British government to fucking enforce the border aggressively. The day they get independence, I want 10,000 English soldiers manning the fucking wall. Like the fucking Night's Watch guarding against the White Walkers. But they're not going to be White Walkers, they're going to be Red Walkers. The Red Menace. We can put fucking tanks on Hadrian's Wall and just refuse to let them come down unless they apply for a fucking work permit. And 5 years later, when they've got enforced equality and nobody's working because it's pointless, because the state takes all of the fruits of your labours, you're going to have 1 million starving Scotsmen eating grass in the shadows of Hadrian's Wall. That's what you're going to get. So fucking have at it, lads. Again, I'm not having to go all Scots. I know plenty of Scottish Conservatives, and again, unlike them, I'm not a collectivist. But the way I see it, the Scottish Conservatives will all move south. They'll just fuck off down to England and go, you know what, I believe in working for a fucking living. I think if you labour with your two hands, you should be allowed to keep the fruits of it. It doesn't get appropriated by the state and sent off to fucking one-legged lesbians that tick all the right boxes for Comrade Sturgeon. So fair play. Best of luck to you lads. I hope that nationalist fucking lefties desperate for independence, I hope and pray you get it. Because I love being proved right. And when your economy ends up in the fucking shit and you once again need to join a union with England because you've gone bankrupt, hopefully this time they will tell you to fuck off. Criminalised for jokes. Jesus fucking wept.